for coming out tonight. This is the January 8th meeting for the Glen Iris Neighborhood Association. It's obviously our first of the year and after the holidays. Counseling. So we'll start off. Our first item on our agenda is our minutes from December. Did anybody have any edits or comments about the minutes? Hearing none, is there any motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve as presented to us.
All right, thank you, Bev. Is there a second? Thank you. And we'll just do a voice vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Any abstentions? All right, that passes. All right, so we will do some reports first. I don't see anybody from Birmingham PD here. Okay, with them not being here, I will just let everybody know. I know Bev had asked this question on did they send us the stats that they promised us last month, and we still don't have those stats. So reach out back out to Southside Precinct again, try to get those stats, and let everybody know if we get them. Yes, Bev?
May I make a suggestion that we email our precinct captain?
Yes,
Let's
absolutely.
get it straight from him. We are still over November, December, January. We've had multiple incidents happening in 11th Street and down towards Southside, and we just need to have an idea of what's going on.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Anybody, I don't see anybody from Fire and Rescue or Community Resource or the library. So Council, you're up.
Well, here or there, or does it matter?
Stand a little closer.
I'll stand over here.
Right here.
Happy New Year, everybody. It's good to see so many people on a night when we're supposed to have bad weather. So, the city council meeting is tomorrow, and there is nothing overwhelming that is on the agenda, which is always good. That there's nothing to upset you or get you all bent out of shape. At least I feel good about it. So I thought I would just ask at this point whether anybody has any questions or concerns about things going on in the city that you wish were going on in the city, or that you heard were going on in the city. The only thing I can't report on is police issues because they don't tell us anything either. So, does anyone have any issues? That's great. We're starting off the new year right.
Wait, Valerie?
Issue, but a question, if you have an update about the Southtown development, just where it stands, driving by, I can see a lot of changes and it feels like every time I drive by, there's something new going on with the land. Do you know what's up with it?
Well, basically, they're building the residential part first. I'm not even sure that they have anyone to build the hotel or any of the other items that they're supposed to put there, but they have under construction the senior citizen housing and also housing for families, people with children. So they're doing the residential first to bring some bodies onto the site. And of course, they have one section where people are still living that are mostly senior citizens. And the president of the Southside Neighborhood Association lives there, so he keeps us apprised of how things are going. Of course, they're going slowly, but that's kind of what you expect with construction projects because weather has an effect until they have the buildings all sealed in. They can't work on the interior if it's still raining in there. So, but it's moving ahead, and I haven't heard anything about the hotel or the office building, but we'll see. As long as the people get back, that's really the main thing I care about. The developer cares about the money-making part. but getting the residents, or as many residents as wanted to come back. We did give them vouchers to go out and move into the community, Section 8 vouchers and other things like that. So a lot of them left permanently, but there are people who want to come back when everything's new. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am.
I'm not sure if it's appropriate for you, or maybe Rob could update us later. In the newsletter, it's, y'all shown that the condemnation of the property on Idlewild Circle. Are y'all gonna update us about that, or just Councilor Abbott?
I only heard about it.
Okay.
So,
The only notice is the posting that was outside the property, and I spoke with the person who had posted that for, that's as much info as we have right now. So, but that's the site.
Well, it was requested over a year ago, but I'm sure that some person at City Hall probably thought that maybe the developer was going to get approved for his zoning change, which of course did not happen. And so it needs to be demolished. I mean, pieces are falling off and blowing off and landing on the neighbors, and that's pretty inappropriate to treat your residents that way. So I'm glad. I can't wait to see the bulldozer come, because it's a wreck. And it shouldn't have ever been allowed to get to that point. But they,
How old is that building? I'd go by there quite a bit, but I hadn't.
yeah, I just have
Notice
to
the
assume
time
it's
period
like
of 40
30s or
years when it got
40s. I don't know.
So bad.
I don't know. If you go online and you go to the GPS and you look the building up, it will tell you when it was constructed, or a reasonable facsimile of that. It'll also tell you the owner's name and how much it's valued, and it's valued for a lot. I wouldn't want to live there, but it's valued.
Yep, Teresa on virtually, who'd like to ask a question?
Yes. Well, this is more some kudos, Valerie. Thank you for yours and Dr. Lee's help in addressing the problem. And I know many of you have seen it, that vacant area on Green Springs Highway, which is, if you're coming from Valley Avenue into Birmingham on the right, there's just, before you get to Goodwill, there's a lot of trash. There's people living up there. It's just a big mess. So they have started working with the realtor and the owner of that property, and it should be cleaned up hopefully very soon. So thank you, Valerie, for that. Really appreciate it. And then there was another area there at George Ward Park where we had some tents and such on the property, and that too has been cleaned up. So thank you for helping us with that.
The realtor and the owner who are willing to do that work, because it looks so bad. And I saw someone building some little steps in the red clay the other day, and I guess that was so they could get into the Vulcan Trail easier. But anyway, I know many of us who are older remember when the request was to rezone it for an Asian market. It was going to be a strip shopping center.
Yep.
And the owner's name was Doe Van Tran or something to that effect. I know there was a Tran and a Doe in there.
Was that when it was
But
cleared?
he cleared it, and then nothing ever happened. So now it's going on the market for just under $1 million. So if you've got any pocket change, you too can own some property on the south side. So that's what I know at this point. And you're very welcome for, we're willing to dive in any place we can to make it look better. So if there are no other questions, I will have a seat. If you think of a question during the meeting, we'll talk afterwards. Thank you.
All right, so next on our agenda is we have a liquor license application request. Omar is here. And this will be in Palisades, called Hot Shot Package Store. So would you mind coming up, introducing yourself, and a bit about your business request?
Yes. Hello, good evening, everybody. Happy New Year's. We rented this place in Palisade. It's a very busy area, and we rented it a few months ago. We fixed it. We talked to the owner about opening a package store. We went to the zoning to the city, and they told us it's okay. The zoning allowed that. And me and my brother, we're gonna work there. He just came from California. Our family used to have a store like that in California. Stayed there for 30 years until my father retired. And we trying to do the same thing here, opening. Doing a good business. We're gonna focus on our Latino product because we got a lot of Latinos around that area. And if y'all have any question, just ask me, and that's all about it.
What is this next to? Where?
It's next to Walmart, neighborhood Walmart, and it's next to a smoke shop right here in the
Oh,
corner.
it's in the shopping.
Yeah, it's in the shopping
It's
area.
not a freestanding.
Yeah.
There's a laundromat.
The laundry, the owner of the building is actually the owner of the laundromat. He owned the whole strip right here. So yeah, it's next to it too.
Does anybody else have questions?
I do have a question.
Yes.
A lot of homeless people hang out on that side of the building. Has the owner said that he would like?
Already talked to him. Already
Like
talked to
pressure
him.
washing and cleaning up all the.
Already talked to him. I think he told me we got 2 guys cleaning up every day, and he told me he'd try his best. I mean, this issue is in 5 Points, is in everywhere. The homeless issue, nobody could do anything about it. But he told me to make sure keep everything clean. Make sure to tell them because they stay right there in the corner next to Walmart, and these days is not like it used to be because I'm familiar with the area. They didn't hang like they used to be. A lot of them before. Right now might be a few, 1 or 2, and then they leave, come back like that because Walmart already did something about it. He already did something about it, and we're gonna try to do our best to when we be there. To
I
keep
just
it
wondered if
clean.
you had gotten the owner to make any
He talked to me about
commitments to
he-
keep it clean. It
He,
really
yeah, he
it's-
told me. He told me it's gonna be our responsibility to keep the front clean, and to make sure let them stay there, because they stay in front of Walmart area, but still we consider very close to that, and we're gonna try to do our best on this subject. He's doing his best. I'm gonna do my best because keeping it clean is is number one that he talked to me about. He said keep the area clean.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
What are your hours?
It's gonna be from 11 to 10 because after 10 the whole area is shut down out there. So it's like maybe until 10 that'll be good time. Yes.
Any other questions?
Any other questions?
Can I ask a question?
What is your business? I couldn't hear exactly what it was.
It's gonna be a liquor store, wine and package store.
Package store, okay.
And, we're located in the Palisades, it's 306 Palisades Boulevard. It's for a package store, liquor request, formerly called Lounge Retail Liquor Class 2. So,
Yes.
anyone else have any questions? All right, does anybody have a motion on the table?
Approve the consent request.
Motion to approve, anyone second? Bev seconds, thank you. So we'll just raise your hand, and if you're in the chat, if you can, just put your, how you will vote into the chat. So everyone who votes yes, please raise your hand.
Appreciate it.
And then, up to you, scroll down.
Thank
Uh, everyone, right, you got everyone? Everyone who votes no, please raise your hand.
It's okay, no hard feelings.
And anybody who abstains, raise their hand. And then in the virtually, we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 yeses and 1 more abstention. And if you could just announce what that total vote is.
16 yes, 0 no's, and 3 abstain.
Understand? Yeah. All right, so that passes. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate
Got this
it.
filled out now, so I'll send that in tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
All right. So we will go back then and see. Since Brian is here, do you have anything you want to share with us?
I do not. I am not sure. They were supposed to have, is the water board that is doing the work on 11th Avenue and 14th Street. They were supposed to be done by today. I have not gotten confirmation that they were done or not. So if that has been impacting the neighborhood, that's not technically, it's for UAB, but it's the waterworks board that's blocking up the streets. They were supposed to be done today, but I don't know. So sorry, I couldn't find out.
Does anybody have any questions for Brian? Valerie?
Just one, do you have an anticipated date for the opening of the daycare center that's under construction right here?
I don't know when it's going to be open. Construction should be complete March, April. So my guess is they will probably open for the summer for new students, new people to enroll. But I don't know for sure. I can check. And I'll bring that
I
up.
was just curious, we walk past it every day and we're almost. How much longer it would be. Looks like they're ready to put the final pavement down and grass and.
That's right. Yes, ma'am. We're
Landscaping.
final finishes and exterior work. Yeah. So they're really close.
The playground's in, so,
Yes. Yeah.
thank you.
Bitch better have my money.
All right, so we will move along then to our next agenda item, which is the North Side, South Side Community Framework Plan. So just some updates, we of course we had a meeting in December. And in that, there was largely discussion around zoning and future land use map. I got notification, I think it was either last night or this morning, functionally the same, that they have released a new copy of the North Side, South Side Community Framework Plan. One of those amendments include, they have a new future land use plan map in there, which was the result of the input they received, I assume.
Wiggle,
from all
wiggle,
three
cock, big
meetings,
cock,
but I
big
know
cock,
that
wiggle,
the
wiggle,
ladies
wiggle,
supposed
wiggle,
to.
wiggle, 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 cock, quack, 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 quack.
And so that's been published, I think it was published as of today. They are looking at having a final meeting, but that one will be a joint meeting of the north side and south side. Originally, when they emailed me this morning, they were suggesting on the 18th. And in addition to the fact that that is obviously no time for anybody to learn about the meeting, that happens to be when the Southside Neighborhood Association meets. So we are in communication with them about picking a new date for February, but we don't have a date for that yet. They are looking at hosting it at the Protective Life Stadium though. So, I'm hoping that I'll have something more definitive to share, within the next week. But that's where that stands right now. Any questions? The only thing else that I will make sure to mention is we put this on the table out there. For those of y'all who were able to come to the last meeting, they had these at the last meeting as well. But this shows the future land use plan categories, and within it, it shows which types of zoning are allowed within each category. And it shows in here both the current, or the old, I feel like what's called the old zoning code now, but it's the one that we're currently in, for what Iris, as well as the new zoning code. So for example, if you were looking at residential low, the R1, 2, and 3 is the zoning code we're currently in Iris, versus the D1, D2, and D3, which stands for dwelling, the R stands for residential. That's the new zoning code that the city's transitioning into. Yeah, I would definitely just recommend looking at the new map they released. My understanding is they actually released it at the December meeting, but it's only as of today online.
Ja,
So if
Jarak,
you get a chance to go to the
du
December meeting,
Arsch,
it's now
du
accessible.
Hurensohn.
But yeah, anybody else have any other questions?
I was wondering if anyone that was committed to receive a paper map ever received anything or heard from anyone? Of course, there weren't a lot of people who were there, but they told us they would give us like a paper copy of the map to bring to the neighborhood meeting for the people who couldn't attend any of the 3 meetings, and I never received one. And I just wondered if you or anyone else did.
So I don't have a paper copy. I do have the new one. Would it be possible for us to share this up on screen if I give you this link? Okay, see if we can put this up on the screen. Oh yeah, I guess I could do it myself as well. Yeah, use the screen share. Okay, screen share. Oops. Why is this not letting me move? Already started to try. There we go. Okay. So I can pull over this a little better. So this is the map. Trying to see if I can make this a little smaller so that way it's a page. Okay, so this is the map for Southside. Sorry that I can't pull it up all at one time. The future land use map. So the blue is institutional. That includes, UAB and other like hospitals, colleges, universities, research facilities. And if folks don't have one of these from the hallway, I recommend grabbing them if you want. It might be easier to follow along. The key is obviously up here. This is in one page, 236 of 273. So if you pull it up online, I can put this Dropbox link in the Facebook group in just a moment. But this is one, just to make it easier so you're not having to search through the whole document. It's 236. This is of course the key, so residential low, which includes, single family homes, so forth. Residential medium, that includes, within current ones, that's R4, R4 and R4A, I don't know what the differences between those are, and then the new one is D4, so that includes some small apartments. And the orange is residential high, which in the currently we have up to R7 in our zoning code. For the dwelling districts, it goes up to R6, so they're not like a 1-for-1 in terms of the difference is in zoning, but they'll be, my understanding is they're fairly close. But those nuances is where you can get into a little bit of trouble sometimes. So I definitely recommend, we were talking about this earlier, I'm gonna see if I can get from PEP, like, maybe like a 2-pager or something on, can you give us the nuanced differences between, say, R1 and D1? Stuff like that, so that way people can have an understanding of what they're going into when we do, because they'll be doing public hearings next year, or no, this year, but in probably a few months from now. Because they want to, what they told me is their goal is to finish rezoning by the end of the summer. Which ultimately that, of course, depends on what the council says, in terms of, which should be influenced by what we say, whether or not the drafts they put together reflect what we want. So I'm gonna try and get that information to make it easier for folks, to navigate through. So there's neighborhood commercial, general commercial, all of the ones with, slashes in that, those are mixed uses. And then we don't have a whole lot of it, but purples are industrial. And then the greens are not as exclusive zoning, but those are with like various parks or green spaces. Which my understanding is they want to create a green space zoning in the future, but that doesn't currently exist in the zoning code, something specific for parks and green spaces. And then brown being transportation and utilities, which is also not an exclusive zoning district. This is what the basic map looks like. Is there any?
What is the orange there, that the lowest part, is that brown, am I seeing?
This, like this right here?
Just kind of in the middle,
Yeah,
just
like here?
lower left, an orange area, looks like it's along the side up near.
So, yeah, if this is,
Parkway and
if these
everything.
ones are the ones you're talking about, that's residential high, so that's multi-family
That's okay, that's the
development. So, within zoning, for the current one, that can be R5, R6, or R7. Within the new one, it would be called D5 or D6.
That would allow high rises, like 15 stories tall.
Yeah, I remember one part of the conversation, and Rob, I think we were talking with one of the folks from City of Birmingham, but it would be great if they had like a layover map, right? That shows some of the difference from what the prior zoning was and what the new recommendations are. To my knowledge and understanding, it isn't that different from what it has been, but that was one request that was made. I don't know if any movement was made on that.
I recall Tim Gambrell saying, yeah, that would be a good idea, but since he's in charge of actually doing something, I doubt anything has been done. But maybe if citizens or neighborhood leaders asked about it a second time, maybe something would happen. They're not very proactive.
Can you clarify exactly, what is it?
Yeah, just kind of a layover, so if we're looking at the map right now, for example, this is the proposed, right? This is
Yeah.
the new-
This is for future land use.
Yeah, the future land use, so like, it would be great to be able to look at a map that showed what the previous zoning was and comparing that to what the current is, sort of a side by side or a layover.
Gotcha.
The little projectors where you can put one on top.
Yeah, and I think we'll definitely need that for, in particular too, for when we start talking about the zoning and not just the land use. I think that kind of goes into that nuance of how do we ensure that, folks don't get a zoning that doesn't align with what they want. Yes, ma'am.
I don't wanna sound ignorant, but I know we're talking about the new zoning. It's happening, right? I mean, we don't have any say-so or vote or anything. They're actually changing it and they're just informing us, correct?
No,
They're still in input right now.
yeah, they're looking for input from you and everybody else. Those meetings that some of us have been going to, that was for you to attend. That was for citizens to attend and have input.
I went to the first one and I left there with more questions than I got answers.
Yeah, well,
I couldn't go to the next one. I think there was another two after that,
but there's still time for input on imaginebm.com, yeah.
So we as a group, and we live here and they wanna do this, do we have to ask each individual question that we have, or are they just saying, look, we wanna do this because it's gonna be better for this and this and this? I mean, do they have a plan to do it that they could just tell us?
so that it would be,
Are you talking about for zoning?
yeah, I mean, why do they wanna do it? Why do we have to, how do we know what to ask? What are they actually doing? Because if you don't ask the question, you're not gonna get an answer, and if you don't ask it, then there goes, well, nobody asked it, so we're doing it, nobody opposed it, so we can protect us. Is there a way to look at the whole picture like they're looking at it?
What exactly is it that you're, I know we've already talked about like differences with the differences in zoning. I'm not trying to get a copy of that, but what it,
Okay, yeah, we all need to know, we all need to know what the changes are. I wanna know specifically why they decided to change everything. What is their goal and what do they plan for us? Cause we're here, so are we gonna be hoping in the next 20 years just to die off and this plan is in the future for the young people and all the changes? Or, in other words, why can't we have the whole picture? Why do we have to have one zone change to this and have it in print and have a map and then ask the question and not understand what's the difference? I don't work at the city, I just live in the city.
well, I can at least answer the first part, I feel like fairly clearly, which is why they're doing this. The city council passed a brand new zoning code a few years back. I feel like it was closer to 10 years back.
It's been a while.
And so the city has been in the process of changing from the old zoning code to the new zoning code throughout that period of time.
Do we know why?
Counselor?
Yeah, it was just out of date, it'd been there for 30 years and they decided it needed to be updated. But I can tell you what their plan is. They want to get more density in our neighborhoods. They want to cram more and more people in, take away the parking, and force you to use mass transit, ride a bicycle, walk where you're going, or ride a skateboard, or whatever means of transportation you've got that you don't need a car for anymore. So they have a plan, and it's not a plan that's for you. It's a plan because this is what they have envisioned that the city should be. And I personally don't know whose book they read, but they seem to have all read the same book about how to make your city into a new and different place. If you live in a single-family house and they build a 5-story apartment building next to you by tearing down 4 people's houses, you're gonna notice. And it's gonna affect you, and you won't be able to do anything about it unless you participate in this, long-range planning and rezoning. If you like the zoning you have right now, it's good to let someone know. Because the people who don't participate are the ones who are standing around saying, what happened? And it's too late. It's too late when you're asking what happened. So the vision of planning, engineering, and permits and others of the city is to get more and more people packed in and do away with the parking so you'll use transit. But we don't have good transit yet, but we're gonna get it as soon as you don't have a car anymore. If you believe that.
Can I ask you something since you're informative? If I decide to stay where I am and I don't like what I find out, will there be eminent domain from where I am?
No, we don't use eminent domain anymore. I don't know if the state does or not. They passed a law a number of years ago because cities were using it too much. And so we haven't used it in years.
I just try to force you.
So, yeah, if you don't wanna sell, you don't have to. And usually it's some developer that's trying to get you to sell anyway, not the city.
Thank you. Enlighten me.
I have a question.
So correct me if I've totally misunderstood what's gone on over the last almost year. Where Ross is now, and the zoning that allowed Ross to come in a gray area after we went through all of this with the zoning, is that area gonna be down zoned now so that it would not be appropriate in the future that something like the rehab center come in there?
I think it is. I think the zoning is being changed on it.
I thought I saw that on one of the maps at the second meeting, but honestly, I cannot remember.
Well, and it's hard to tell
It was-
what's
it
on
was
the
hard to
maps because
tell.
there's no street
Right.
names. And so you're looking at it and thinking, where the heck am I?
So, I feel like, is this about that intersection?
Now, up above your arrow is where the apartments are on
Yes.
Queens Highway and Hubbard Properties.
Oh, okay, so they're over here.
Yeah, they're behind the 149.
So is it grandfathered?
Terrace coming at a southeast angle.
So they're currently, I think it's C5.
CR5.
And this to me looks like residential low in future land use. Which the future land use would only allow, which currently includes R1, 2, and 3. And in the future, and the next one would be D1, D2, and D3. So this definitely includes proposing it down to.
Do those 1 through 3 mean like size of the lots? Does that have to do with our value of the house?
Yeah, it's the size of the lots. E1 is the largest.
Yeah.
Then you have R1 is next, and they consistently get smaller. R3 is what most of our neighborhood is zoned. I think Glenars Park is the only E1.
So, any other questions about this for tonight?
Well, did you see my question? So,
Well, one point is, if you don't like what you see on imaginebm.com, there's space there for you to make comments, whether you attend the first meeting of anybody or not. Individual people can go in there and make comments on what,
ImagineBM.com.
yeah.
Yes. I leave it there.
yes.
What was your question?
Well, I wasn't clear on that last conversation if Ross was being grandfathered in that change with the new changes coming forth.
No, that's not what the map shows.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I guess we don't have an answer about the grandfathering in at the moment, only what the zoning would be. But was that not asked? I could have sworn that was asked at the last meeting.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask about, Rob. Can you find that out and let us know?
I can ask that to them again, yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, so, any other questions then? I'll move on. Okay, cool. I will put this link in the Facebook, just right after the meeting, so that folks can see it. Okay, oh, well, actually, next up on the agenda is Teresa. So, do you have any updates for us?
In regards to the what? Ross and Art, okay. I would assume that's what you're meaning. So Ross did change their hours. I had a conversation with them and they changed their hours from 10 to 10 to 9 to 9. So I think that may help some. We'll see how that works out. Other than that, everybody I think knows what happened at the zoning meeting we had earlier or at the end of last year. So I'm really not sure I have a whole lot more to provide at this point.
Any questions for Teresa? Okay. All right, then we're on to announcements. So first announcement, just letting folks know the city and the development department is doing their public hearings for the 2024 action plan. This is year 5 of 5 of the city's consolidated plan. I know Josh and I were both one-to-one today. They've got an in-person meeting on July 17th. I just put the flyer in the Facebook group earlier today about that, so if you're interested in hearing about that process, I definitely recommend going to that meeting.
January 17th, not
Jan-
July.
Did I say
You
July?
said July, yes.
I apologize, yes, January. That's what, in 9 days, I believe. And our recycling for this month, it's my understanding that it was moved to the 24th, not even the 17th yet, okay? And then February, it's supposed to go back to normal, so that's first and third Wednesdays of the month. And then trash and brush for this month is January 31st. And does anybody else have any other announcements they would like to share with the neighborhood?
I have something I would like to bring up. Certainly not for a vote tonight, but an issue. For those of you who are as old as I am, you probably remember when there were going to be some apartments built up above the houses on Green Springs Avenue. And the neighborhood people got together and sued. And in the end of the whole thing, the city ended up buying the property from the developer, and it's sitting behind those houses on Green Springs Avenue that are closest to 11th Place, where it goes up the mountain and eventually, boy, it's hot up there. That's interesting. If you're hot, stand up, or if you're cold. Anyway, so that property, I went to the council meeting about 100 years ago, and the council voted to dedicate that as park property. What happened is, no one ever published it, no one ever followed through, and so that property's just sitting there waiting for the city to sell it to some nice apartment developer, and we can go through it all over again. So, what I would like is for the neighborhood to vote to have that park dedication redone, since it was already done, but ineffectively, and get that property protected where it will remain green space. It's in the slide zone. In fact, that's where the slide zones came from, was that lawsuit. But we have no protection whatsoever. And I found it on the list of the city's properties for sale. So I didn't pitch a fit, I just told them strongly that they needed to get it off there because that had been dedicated by the city council. The problem is, I don't remember which year it was. I remember sitting in the audience and being very excited when they voted yes to dedicate it, along with the Vulcan Trail. The Vulcan Trail did fine, but that chunk of property that's behind a lot of people's single-family homes could slide down the mountain under development and end up pushing their homes onto Green Springs Avenue, or maybe to their neighbor across the street. And so I would like to bring that up as an issue for the neighborhood to consider, voting to ask the city to make sure that that property is dedicated as a city park rather than being on the list of property for sale by the city.
So, I have a question. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm done. I mean, we can print out, where the location is, but I'm sure that probably the only people who remember this will be people who were young at the time that it happened. And I think that Hope Cooper, I know she remembers and tried to do some investigation because one of the year outs was an attorney, I think.
Yeah, he lived up on 22nd.
Yeah.
That was Tommy.
Yeah, Tommy, it was a ton of years ago.
Yeah, but anyway,
I think my brother Gary would remember, because I remember him telling me about it, and he was the president of Fallon, was probably around that time.
We didn't have neighborhood associations at that time. I
we've
don't
had them
know.
since 1970.
Yes.
And it was during that time, I mean, I was just a resident living in the neighborhood, and there was a group of residents who paid the lawyer, I assume, I don't think he worked for free, to file the lawsuit and try to stop it because they were worried that the apartments would slide down the mountain and obliterate their homes. And of course, you know, nobody wants that to happen.
How many acres is that whole tract?
I want to say, from my vague memory, it's around 8 acres. And it's just covered with trees
Goes almost
and
up to the.
trees and poison ivy.
trail.
It goes up to the Vulcan Trail. So if you step off the Vulcan Trail on the north side, you're on that piece of property. Yes, ma'am.
So, I think that is a good idea. I hadn't known that history. I'm grateful to know more about the history. But more of a hypothetical case study than, if the new zoning happens, shouldn't it be zoned as a park? And like,
Yeah, it should, but you know, they're very.
so can we confirm on the map whether or not it's, like,
Well,
they
we
have
can
it
look at
on
the map if we put the map back up, but
because if the zoning board has it zoned.
this needs to be done regardless, because the city is open to selling it.
Okay.
Or at least they were. They may hold off for a little while, but they're not gonna hold off from me forever. They might do it out of courtesy, but
I guess that's my question is, if with the new zoning, if it's zoned as park and rec, can the city opt to sell it for commercial? Because that would change the zoning of it, right? You can't put apartment.
dedicating park property is the only way to ensure it stays
Okay.
a park. And even then, a vote of all the citizens of Birmingham could undo it, but it would take everybody in Birmingham voting, and there are not very many citizens who like to give up parkland to a developer. Probably a few. Anyway, so this is an issue, I just wanted to throw it out, you know, and let people think about, you know, how you feel, maybe drive by there and look at it. It's full of poison ivy, so I wouldn't recommend walking through. But it's wooded and it's nice, and if it was developed for apartments, it would be another penthouse. What is it, mountain views, mountain something, anyway. A generator of enormous amounts of traffic. Unless they don't require them to have a parking lot, and then they'll be parking in front of your
They'll be
house.
coming off onto that alley, I guess.
Yes, ma'am.
So is the bottom line that the city cannot find any documentation of what was done, and that's where the problem lies?
Yeah, because after the city council passes something, they vote on it. Everybody goes home feeling happy or sad, thinking that it's going to be handled appropriately, and they neglected to publish it in the newspaper, which is a legal requirement, so it never became effective. And there's, you know, probably very few people at City Hall left, probably no one who remembers, because people retire. And so to me, it's a serious issue for our neighborhood, and I would like to get it resolved before, you know, something bad happens to us.
Is there an archive of minutes?
There is. We meet 52 weeks a year, and it probably happened 25 or 30 years ago.
Late seventies.
Is this the property that we were discussing about 2 years ago? It's 2001, 11th Place South.
I think it is. We've talked about it before, but we didn't do anything. And we need action, I think. My feeling is we need action rather than just talking.
Right.
Because talking won't save us.
So, for context for people to, at what point in time, so I used to be on the Land Bank Authority, and this property somehow got put on the Land Bank Authority as a Land Bank Authority property. And this is, I'm screen sharing, yeah, I'm gonna minimize, I'm gonna go out. This is where that property is. 2001, 11th Place South. I just pulled it up in my emails back from when I was talking with Ms. Burrell, who's still on the Land Bank. Now, this isn't Birmingham GIS, so at one point in time, oh, it's changed again. So right now, it's again showing Birmingham Land Bank Authority as the owner, But last time I checked on here, it actually said the city of Birmingham was still there. So these don't always get updated properly, so, but it sounds like what you're
Now,
saying
is this the slide zone map?
this is, yeah, sorry, the colors is the slide zone area. I pulled up the overlay of the slide zone on Birmingham's GIS. So all of that red is that slide zone.
Well, that's not the property, so it's
It's
the
not the
property
property?
on the other side of the Vulcan Trail, behind the home, let me get over.
All right, it's on the 1000 block of Green Springs Avenue.
So is it this one?
I live on there, and I was part of the lawsuit, we were part of it, and it was in the late 70s when this was going on.
Yeah. Okay, so I've tried to take this one off.
Right.
Sorry. It's not letting me take off the other one. But okay, so it's this one on the other side.
It's the one on the other side of 19th Terrace.
Okay. So this one is,
This is the land, I don't know what that is.
this one's owned by the Land Bank Authority. Which is
That's
also
okay.
in that area.
Yeah, if you go up
That
that,
was
And then this one's the city of
if
Birmingham.
you go up the paved road that goes
This
to
is
the
the right-
old Channel 42, there's a land bank authority sign there that I haven't been up there lately, but I think I've.
I believe that parcel is 1001 19th Terrace
Yeah.
South.
That's correct.
And it shows, on regrid, it shows city of Birmingham.
So,
Anyway, but I believe we need to do something, I just want people to think about it and look at it. And who said they were a part of the lawsuit? Okay, well, yeah, good, somebody else remembers, I know Hope and I have had big, long conversations about it, but, you know, you have to be older and have been here to remember it.
it's my understanding this, if you could enlighten this more, it's my understanding, and I don't know a whole lot about it, right, because I wasn't around back then,
You were a baby.
but is that it would, based on what happened with that lawsuit, is it would technically be like essentially illegal for most development to happen on that property, is that correct?
That's what our understanding was at the time. It was, part of it was the slide thing that came out of it, but the sewer system could not handle it, of what they were proposing to put in there. The streets could not handle the traffic of what they were proposing to put in there. And this is where our lawsuit started, to go with this part. And then we went on beyond there. But what would we need to do to get this notice so we can start?
We would need, I mean, I believe we would need to get the neighborhood association to request the city to move ahead with the dedication that was voted back. And certainly you having been involved with it, maybe you have better dates and maybe we could track it down, but I attended the city council meeting. I was there to make sure that they voted right, and they did. And we were all excited and we went home and thought we were safe. But same thing happened to George Ward Park in 1952, so it's a common error that no one publishes it and then it's not legal. So it's not legal right now, the city could sell it to an apartment developer. I mean, you know, we could have deja vu all over again. So it's just that I believe that it would be important, rather than me go and say, well, I think that we need to fix this, I think the neighborhood association needs to be involved in it because you're the people. You know, one of the people, I'm just one. So I think that if the neighborhood association were to vote and say, we would like for that property to be properly dedicated, unlike what happened in the past. Because when I asked the law department to look it up, they didn't have any record. And that was after I discovered it on the list of properties for sale by the city.
What is our timeline? Like, is this something that's urgent, or like, is this something that we can talk about?
Well, I think it would be good for us to talk about it at our next neighborhood
Next
meeting.
neighborhood meeting?
You know, I wanted to bring it up so people would be aware. But certainly, I'm standing here without any information, and it just happens we have a map up here. So, you know, we need to dig around if we can, but we've already tried to dig around and we haven't found what we need because none of us could remember the dates. But,
It doesn't sound like there's any downside to neighborhood.
Yeah, I think, and I don't think there's any downside
Yeah.
to a neighborhood saying, we're supportive of y'all finishing the job that you started a long time ago, and it just needs to be fixed, because we did it with George Ward Park. You know, we discovered it was an undedicated park property, and that was probably why UAB wanted it for a soccer stadium one time, and, you know, we went into a panic, you know, because we could just see it being taken over for a soccer stadium. So, anyway, it's just something for people to think about, but I do believe that it would be wise for the neighborhood association to take it up and simply say that, you know, we would like this piece of property to be dedicated as a city park as it was. David Herring and Linda Coleman were both on the council, and I remember they both voted yes, and because they had said they would, but, you know, memories fade over time, and that was a really long time ago, so.
Do you have a copy by any chance of any of the lawsuit paperwork?
Maybe. I'm a pack rat, so maybe.
So then my suggestion is, let's see, maybe we could coordinate over the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
See if we can get a copy of that. Those who want to be involved in it, we can try and write it out as a formal resolution to bring to the next neighborhood meeting in February, which will be the first Monday. And then we can, you know, vote on that, present that to the council.
Yeah, or we could just write a letter and say we've, you know, the neighborhood association voted that we wanted, I mean, we don't have to make our own resolutions, but we just need to get behind it, I believe, and get it taken care of. So, you know, we were resting easy until we discovered that it wasn't real. And then there was no more resting easy. So, it's just an error. And I feel that the city will be perfectly amenable to doing it, but you don't ever know. And it's all new cast of characters. New mayor, new council. We've had several councils and several mayors since this was done. In fact, Dick Arrington was mayor when this was done.
Was this when you were president of the GINA?
I'm not even sure I had been, I might have been the secretary.
Mr. Bohorfish was the president when I
Yeah,
moved.
I
That was
might
in
have been the
83.
secretary, because I was the secretary for a long time.
Yeah, I remember George
Yeah,
working with my dad at IRS.
but you know, the city is very kind. They say, well, we'll be glad to call up the records and get the records company to deliver us the boxes. Tell us the date. And when you say tell us the date, then your mind kind of goes blank because you don't know the date. And, you know. So it's just something to think about.
Also, if I think a small portion of that property also goes into 5 Point South. Small portion of it, but I'm pretty sure, I have to double check it. So I was only saying that from a perspective of we might be able to get 5 Point South neighborhood to sign up with us too. So I can
I feel
coordinate.
sure that they would be willing to do that.
So once we coordinate, I'll just, we can bring that up. All right, anything else you want to share?
Yeah, no, that was all. I forgot earlier and I wanted to throw it out so people would have something to think about for the next 3 weeks.
Thank you, Councilor. So does anybody have any other announcements for tonight?
Really quick, so, spoken last with the Ross, operators of the facility, and they have asked that folks in this room or anyone on the call, to please arrange maybe a tour with them so that you can see what services they offer in the area. The email, the person you can arrange that with is rossforus, rossforus.cjsmith@gmail.com. If you'd like me to leave that email with you all, I can. But they were just asking, their doors open and like to arrange tours for people to see what services they do actually offer in the neighborhood. Any questions about that?
Any other announcements?
Just real quick, there's a public hearing Thursday at 5:30, and I may post this on the Glen Iris neighborhood page. Iron City Business Academy is a school that is interested in coming to the Glen Iris Neighborhood Association. Miriam Moore presented a few months ago, so that shouldn't be a surprise to several of us, but things look like it's moving in the right direction, and it seems like a win-win for the neighborhood because the location that she's interested in is the former ARC property, which is across from Ross, and I know they've met with Ross leadership and some other folks as well, so we're hoping that's something that can happen, but there's a public hearing on Iron City Business Academy's application to Birmingham City Schools this Thursday at 5:30. I think it's online only.
I did actually want to ask you about that because usually there's also an in-person testing, so are you certain that it's only online? Because I've only seen a Zoom link, so you were just.
It has to be a Zoom.
Right, yeah, good question, yeah. I don't know about it in person, but I do know about the online.
Usually it's both.
The only other thing that I'll announce is our Commissioner Tyson, wanted us to uplift that there is a Martin Luther King Day of Service event happening on January 15th. It is not in our neighborhood, it's in Bush Hills, but it is, I put a flyer out there on the table, so that's 3rd Avenue West, and that's right at the corner of Princeton Parkway. So if anybody wanted to participate in that, that is it, on the 15th at 1 p.m. And I think Commissioner Tyson is doing a gig that. All right,
Quick question,
yes.
what are we doing with our committees that y'all have mentioned over the last few months? We haven't seen any links about that.
Yes, sorry, I just got the links, we had to make the edits, so I will be sharing some updates, shortly. I don't have it for tonight specific.
Sure,
I will sure. send that
I'm just
shortly.
curious, any other projects that anyone's approached y'all with for the neighborhood?
Nobody else has reached out to us. I still definitely recommend if anybody else has something that they want us to do, reach out. I know personally, I would love, just kind of waiting to see if we can get some committees going before bringing this up, but I definitely know that a lot of us, we still got that project on the table that money we spent for the accessible playground. That's Estelle. I think it'd be great. We could try to make that actually happen. And I know when it comes to other projects that we've approved, Melody Martin told us that paperwork's been processed. I'm not sure if any of that's gone, do you know if any of that's gone to the council yet?
It hasn't gone to the council, but we've been bulldogging it because we don't want it to be forgotten. And so we now have the layout and the drawings and looking for the appropriate person to come and make a presentation to the neighborhood so that we can all actually see what we might be getting. The lady and her child that originally brought the idea, the child has passed away, but there are many other children who need an accessible playground, so it would certainly not be in vain, and we're just looking for more people to pitch in money to pay for it, because the city has money for the things it wants to do, but it doesn't have any money left for the things other people want to do, so you have to go out and find your own.
It is my memory that project is listed in the north side, south side further plan. It's something for us to do. And I also know Marlise Delgado is on virtually, and she was involved in that back then, and trying to help create a design. And so, shout out to our Glen Iris residents who were involved in that back then too. So, I think it'd be good if some folks who are interested would be, we can kind of come together.
Well, and the people in the legislature who committed to donate money and took it back because nothing was being done, they all said that they would be willing to pitch in again if we ever got it moving. So the Park and Rec Board is on board, it's just nothing moves until somebody kicks it real hard.
Well, if anybody wants, go ahead.
Just as a follow-up, I think it would be great if maybe next month we could carve out some time, if y'all think you could get kind of some ideas about that, moving forward about some of the committees. I've been very
Yeah,
excited about, Josh and Carrie and Matthews, the meet and greets that we've done, and I hate to lose the momentum for some of these very positive things that are going on, that a lot of our younger residents are getting involved in. And we're able to, mesh the folks that have been here longer and not. So I really, really encourage that if you possibly can.
I fully agree, definitely. All right, anybody else have anything else? All right, hearing none, is there any motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
Second. Motion second, we'll do a voice vote, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Abstained? All right, have a good night.